Welcome to Oculus of the Wise. Chosen one, do not move. I need you to hear what I am about to say before your mind talks you out of it. Before that voice inside you, the one that has protected you by keeping you skeptical, by keeping you guarded, before that voice convinces you this is just another video, I need you to notice something. Notice what your body just did when you read that title. Notice the way something in your chest shifted, even slightly. That was not curiosity. That was recognition. Something in you already knows what this message carries, and it brought you here before your logic could intervene. This is not entertainment. This is not motivation. This is a mirror. And what you are about to see in it will explain the last 6 to 18 months of your life in a way that nothing else has been able to. Anointed one, there has been something sitting on you, not on your shoulders, deeper in the center of your chest, behind your sternum, in that place where breath meets spirit. You have felt it when you wake up at 3 in the morning for no apparent reason, lying in the dark with your eyes open, and a question presses against you that you cannot fully articulate. It is not anxiety exactly. It is not depression exactly. It is a weight that has no name, and it has been following you through your days like a second shadow. You function, you show up, you perform, but underneath the performance, there is an exhaustion that sleep does not fix, a loneliness that company does not reach, and a restlessness that no decision seems to resolve. You have tried to explain it to people, maybe once, maybe twice, and when their eyes glazed over, when their advice landed on the surface and slid off, you stopped trying. You learned to carry it alone, not because you wanted to, but because you realized that the people around you do not have the vocabulary for what you are going through. They see your life from the outside, and it looks functional, maybe even successful, but they do not feel what you feel at 2 in the afternoon when the noise fades and that quiet knowing returns, the one that whispers you were not built for the life you are currently living. Chosen one, that knowing is not dysfunction, that knowing is signal, and what it is signaling is something that heaven has been orchestrating for longer than you realize. You have looked at people around you, colleagues, old classmates, people you grew up with, and wondered why their lives seem to move in straight lines while yours spirals through storms you never asked for. You have scrolled through your phone late at night and seen their announcements, their promotions, their milestones, and felt something between grief and confusion because you know you are not less than them. You know the effort you have given, you know the cost you have paid, and yet the results do not match, and no one has been able to tell you why until now. There was a season, and you know exactly which one I am referring to, where everything that could go wrong did, not gradually, not gently. It came in waves, and each wave hit before you recovered from the last. A relationship that you invested years into revealed its true architecture, and what you saw underneath the surface made your stomach drop. A professional door that you had been working toward, that you had sacrificed sleep and peace and weekends for, either closed without explanation or opened into something that looked nothing like what was promised. And somewhere in that collision of disappointments, something else happened, something no one saw. You were standing in your kitchen, or sitting in your parked car, or lying in bed staring at the ceiling, and a moment arrived where you felt the full weight of everything at once. The betrayal, the exhaustion, the confusion, the anger, the grief for a version of your life that was not going to happen. And in that moment, every cell in your body wanted to react, wanted to send the message, wanted to make the phone call, wanted to say the thing that would have been devastating because it would have been true. You had the evidence, you had the words, you had the moral high ground, and no one on earth would have blamed you, but you did not do it. Something in you, something that you could not identify at the time, held the blade and chose not to swing. Not because you were weak, because something ancient inside you understood that becoming what hurt you was a surrender, more total than any defeat. And in that moment, that invisible, undocumented, unrewarded moment, you made a decision that altered the trajectory of your spiritual life in ways you are only now beginning to feel. Heaven calls what happened in that moment the completion of a trial. Not the beginning, the completion, because the trial was never about how much pain you could absorb. The trial was about what you would do when you had full permission to destroy, and you chose restraint instead. Strength without mercy becomes destruction, but power held in restraint becomes authority. And what heaven has been looking for was never survivors. It was looking for those who could carry authority without being consumed by it. As it is written in 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7, the Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And in that kitchen, in that car, in that dark room, at 3 in the morning, your heart was being read, not by people, by something far more precise. And what was found, there was not perfection. It was alignment, and that was enough. Now let me tell you what that moment built inside you, because you have been carrying it without knowing its name. What formed in you is something the spiritual realm recognizes as transmutation. Not the alchemical metaphor, something more literal than that. It is the ability to receive something destructive, something sent with the specific intention of breaking your momentum, poisoning your peace, or collapsing your identity, and to change its molecular structure before it reaches your core. You do not block it. You do not pretend it did not arrive. You do not redirect it onto someone smaller or weaker. You take it in, and by the time it passes through whatever has been built inside you, it emerges as something entirely different. Pain becomes discernment, betrayal becomes boundary, loss becomes redirection. Confusion becomes a deeper quality of patience that you did not possess 18 months ago. This is not resilience. Resilience is the ability to withstand. What you have is the ability to convert. And that distinction matters because the world is full of people who can endure, but it is dangerously short on people who can transform what they endure into something that heals rather than perpetuates the wound. Most people follow a predictable cycle. They receive pain and they redistribute it. The father who was belittled becomes the father who belittles. The partner who was abandoned becomes the partner who withholds. The leader who was controlled becomes the leader who micromanages. Pain does not disappear, it transfers. It finds the next available host and replicates itself, generation after generation, relationship after relationship, until someone in the chain does something that the system did not anticipate. Someone absorbs it and refuses to pass it forward. Someone takes the poison into their own body and metabolizes it into medicine. That someone is you, and you have been doing it so instinctively that you did not even realize it had a name. And here is what you need to understand. Darkness noticed this too. Not just heaven. Darkness studies patterns. It tracks reactions. It deploys fear, confusion, isolation, betrayal as precision tools, not random chaos. And for most people, those tools work exactly as designed. The hurt person hurts another person. The betrayed person closes their heart. The confused person makes a desperate decision. The cycle continues. The system feeds. But when those tools were deployed against you, something stopped making sense to the forces that sent them. What was designed to weaken you refined your direction instead. What was meant to isolate you gave you clarity about who actually belonged in your life. What was supposed to generate bitterness somehow deepened your compassion. And at first, those forces assumed there was unusual external protection around you, extra covering, some kind of shield they could not penetrate. But when they observed more closely, they discovered something that disrupted their entire strategy. The transformation was not happening around you. It was happening inside you. You became the filter. You became the place where their weapons lost their original form. And that is a problem they have no solution for, because darkness knows how to attack, how to manipulate, how to pressure, but it does not know how to transmute. That is a capacity reserved for a different kind of carrier, and you are that carrier, whether you feel ready for that title or not. If something in you just responded to that, if you felt a shift in your chest or a heat behind your eyes or a stillness that was not there a moment ago, then I need you to do something. Not for me. For the record, leave a comment below and write the words, "I recognize it." Not because a stranger on the internet told you to, but because there are moments in a spiritual life where what is internal must be spoken into the external for it to fully activate. Your comment is not engagement, it is declaration. And if this channel is new to you, stay connected. What brought you here was not a recommendation, it was preparation. Subscribe and remain present, because heaven does not reveal things out of sequence. And what follows this message was designed to meet you at the exact step you are approaching. Chosen one, now let me show you the evidence, because the proof of what I am describing is already in your life. You just have not assembled the pieces yet. First, notice your recovery time. Think about the last situation that genuinely hurt you, not annoyed you, hurt you. Now compare how long you carried that weight to how long you would have carried it 2 years ago. The difference is not subtle. Situations that once held you hostage for months now move through you in days, sometimes hours. You still feel them. You are not numb, but something in you processes them with a speed and a thoroughness that surprises even you. That is not emotional avoidance, that is your transmutation operating in real time. Second, notice the departures. People have been leaving your life, and not always through conflict. Some simply faded, conversations lost their depth. Connections that once felt essential quietly dissolved, and there was a period where this confused you, maybe even wounded you. You wondered what you did wrong. You questioned whether you had become too much or too little. But what actually happened is that your internal frequency shifted, and everything that was not calibrated to that new frequency lost its ability to remain stable in your proximity. You did not push them out. They could not stay. Not through rejection, but through incompatibility. And the loneliness you felt in their absence was not punishment. It was the space being cleared for what is coming. Third, notice what happens when you walk into a room now. There is a difference, and other people feel it before you do. Conversations shift when you engage tensions, settle without you saying a word. People tell you things they do not tell others, and they cannot explain why. You carry a frequency that stabilizes chaos, not through effort, not through control, but through presence. Where there is confusion, something about you brings clarity. Where there is anxiety, something about you introduces calm. You did not cultivate this intentionally. It was built through every moment you chose not to become what hurt you. And it is now radiating outward whether you are aware of it or not. This is what heaven calls a stabilizing presence, and it was not developed in you for decoration. It was developed because the spaces you are about to enter desperately need it. And here is something you may not have connected yet. Have you noticed what has happened to certain people who came against you? Not all of them, but some, the ones who spoke behind your back, who undermined your position, who took credit for what you built. Look at where they are now. Not because you wished harm on them, you did not, but because what they sent toward you did not land the way they intended. It returned, not as revenge, as consequence, as exposure, as a slow unraveling that had nothing to do with your effort and everything to do with the fact that what was aimed at you could not attach. So it circled back to its origin. You did not orchestrate that. You did not need to. That is the nature of what you carry, and this is also why heaven trusts you with what comes next, because the power you hold does not corrupt you. It does not make you vengeful, it makes you steady, and that steadiness is the rarest currency in a world addicted to reaction. There are environments coming, professional, relational, communal, where the level of confusion and pressure will be higher than anything you have navigated before. And you will not need to perform in those spaces. You will not need to prove yourself. Your presence will begin to reorganize the atmosphere simply because of what you carry, not through volume, through substance, not through instruction, through embodiment. People will watch you and wonder how you remain steady when everything around them is shaking, and that observation alone will begin to change them. Now, here is where I must speak directly to the resistance you are feeling right now, because there is a part of you, a well-practiced, deeply protective part, that is already constructing an objection. It is saying, "This sounds too good. This sounds like it is made for someone else. I am not that far along." That voice is familiar. You have obeyed it many times, and it has kept you safe. But it has also kept you small, and the truth you must confront is this: you are not becoming what I am describing. You already are. The transformation already happened. The exam was already passed. The only thing that remains is whether you will walk as if it is true or shrink back into a version of yourself that no longer exists. Do not misunderstand me. What comes next is not ease. The same patterns that once kept you trapped will attempt to return. An old conversation will resurface. A familiar trigger will present itself. Someone will speak to you in a tone that reaches directly into a wound you thought had healed, and every nerve in your body will want to respond the way it always has. That is not regression. That is a test of position, because patterns are not broken once. They are broken consistently until they lose access to you entirely. And each time you choose restraint over reaction, each time you pause instead of strike, each time you observe instead of escalate, you are cementing an authority that nothing can reverse. But there is a second movement beyond restraint, and most people miss it entirely. It is release. Release does not mean pretending nothing happened. It does not mean excusing what was done to you. Release means you remove yourself from the role of judge and allow something higher to handle what is behind you, because as long as you are managing the verdict, you are tethered to the courtroom. And you were not built to live in courtrooms. You were built to walk in open fields. There are thoughts you revisit more than you should, conversations you replay at midnight, scenarios you reconstruct with better endings. And every time you return to those mental rooms, you feel the energy drop, that subtle heaviness, that familiar tension. That is your spirit telling you that you are picking up something you already set down. What you release must remain released, not because the pain was not real, but because where you are going requires both hands free. And there is one more thing you must guard against as this shift takes root. When you begin to see others still trapped in the patterns you have outgrown, still reacting, still arguing, still living at a volume that exhausts rather than builds, you will feel a temptation, a quiet sense of superiority. A whisper that says you are beyond them now. That whisper is a trap, and it is more dangerous than anything you have faced so far. Because the moment you turn your transformation into comparison, you disconnect from the very posture that made the transformation possible. Remember where you were, remember what it took, and let that memory keep you grounded, because humility is not the opposite of authority. It is the foundation of it. You are not being positioned to stand above people. You are being positioned to stand firm within yourself so that others can find their footing by watching how you stand. Chosen one, if this message is reaching a place inside you that nothing has touched in a long time, if you can feel the weight of it settling into your bones like something you have always known but never heard spoken aloud, then I ask you to do something that costs you nothing but means everything. Press the like button, not as a gesture for the algorithm, as an act of agreement between your spirit and what has been spoken over your life in this moment, and share this with one person. You already know who they are. Their face appeared in your mind before I finished the sentence. They are standing where you stood 18 months ago, and this message may be the thing that keeps them from breaking. Anointed One. Hear me clearly now, because this is the part that changes how you move tomorrow morning. Heaven does not invest this level of development into someone to keep them in small rooms. Expansion follows recognition, and what has been recognized in you requires a wider reach, a deeper influence, a greater capacity than anything your current environment can contain. That restlessness you have been feeling is not dissatisfaction. It is your internal architecture outgrowing the external structure, and when that happens, the structure must change, not through force, through alignment. In the next 72 hours, you will notice something. A thought will arrive that feels different from your normal thinking. Not anxious, not desperate, clear, directional. It will point you towards something specific. A conversation, a decision, a step you have been postponing. And when it arrives, do not dismiss it. Do not analyze it into paralysis. Move with it. Because that thought is not random. It is the first instruction of your next chapter, and it has been timed to arrive after this message for a reason. There will also be a moment, possibly tonight, possibly tomorrow, where someone says something to you, and you feel the old pattern activate. The urge to explain, the urge to defend, the urge to make your position clear. And in that moment, you will remember what you heard here. You will pause, you will choose differently. And when you do, something will shift in the atmosphere around you that confirms everything this message has carried. As it is written in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, there is an appointed time for every purpose under heaven. And Anointed One, your appointed time is no longer approaching. It has arrived, not with thunder, not with spectacle, with a quiet certainty that does not need anyone else to believe it in order for it to be true. Chosen One, receive this in stillness. What has been revealed to you today is not imagination, and it is not temporary. Heaven has seen what you have become, even in the moments no one else witnessed, the silent battles, the invisible decisions, the restraint that no one applauded. All of it was recorded, and now you walk in a season where what was formed in silence will begin to speak without effort. You are not moving blindly. You are being guided. What is unfolding ahead of you has already been prepared, and every step you take from this moment forward is aligned with purpose, not chance. The same power that carried you through what should have broken you will now position you in places where your presence becomes the answer to someone else's prayer. Do not shrink from the responsibility of what you carry. Do not downplay what has been built inside you to make others comfortable. Do not return to old patterns, old fears, or old versions of yourself that no longer exist. The world does not need you smaller. It needs you aligned, and alignment will take you into spaces that stretch you, not to overwhelm you, but to finally express what has been silently building since the day you chose not to become what hurt you. If this word has confirmed something deep within your spirit, something that feels less like new information and more like remembering, write 777 in the comments. Not as a trend, as a covenant between you and what has already been spoken over your life in the unseen, and stay connected, Chosen One. What heaven is releasing through this channel has not finished. It is unfolding in sequence, and each message builds on the last. Missing the next one is not just missing content, it is missing a specific instruction timed for a specific moment in your journey. Subscribe, stay present, What comes next was designed for the exact threshold you are standing on right now. May clarity replace every confusion that has followed you. May peace displace the weight you have carried alone. May every door that opens before you carry the unmistakable fingerprint of divine timing, and may you never again mistake your silence for weakness, your patience for passivity, or your solitude for abandonment, because all of it was preparation for exactly this. The trial is complete. Heaven has responded. And you, chosen one, are no longer waiting for your life to begin. It already has.